record. Just in case any of our parents contact us to say that they couldn't attend tonight, I'm also going to turn off my video because I'm in 2 different places on 2 different laptops. So yeah, once again, thank you for joining us this evening. This is an opportunity really for us to talk about the start of the year, to introduce new leaders. I'm starting this right now because I guess I'm the familiar face, although a number of you will have had the opportunity to meet our new leaders in the WEC Looking Forward events that we've had in the past. So, yeah.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. It's absolutely a privilege to be here with you this evening to talk to you about the secondary vision and the updates for the year ahead. We know you're super keen to hear about the provision that we have in place for your children in the secondary moving forward. We've been working very hard over the last month now, actually. We've been back in school to make sure that everything is ready to go for safe and happy students next week. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to just take you through the vision for the secondary school for the year ahead. And Matthew's going to speak about the results and our academic provision. Mr. Robbins, who is here with us this evening, he's going to talk to you about the pastoral and the wellbeing side, which we know is incredibly important for our young people coming back into the academy next week. And we have Miss Steele as well, who is our senior teacher, who is joining us as well, who has been seconded to the SLT permanently. She's also the head of English here, so those of you that know her, and she will be focusing on student voice this year and parental engagement as well, because they are very, very important. Can we just ask, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat box, and we will answer them after each section, so we don't end up with hundreds at the end. We can answer as we go. One thing I would like to draw your attention to is on the screen, you can probably see a Twitter bird there. And you will see that we've actually set up a brand new Twitter page, and you will see a lot of information going on there. So if you do have Twitter, I would really urge you to follow that account. We will continue with Facebook, the D6, Instagram coming shortly, because that's more for the students. But for us to be able to push information very quickly and obviously retweet things with KHDA, the Ministry of Education, we do use the Twitter feed there.
Also, just very quickly, in terms of the questions, if you do ask a question in the chat, and you know, I'm also managing that. I can type something if I think it's you know, relevant to everyone, and it's a short answer. Some of our answers, though, we will respond verbally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Technical difficulties. There we go. Okay, so just the secondary team, there's obviously myself with this lovely photo that they took of me earlier this week. Mr. Morris, who is the secondary vice principal, he's in charge of academic attainment, progress, data, basically everything. Mr. Robbins, who has come from the National School for Boys, he will be focusing on pastoral, well-being, and basically making sure that our young people are happy in school and actually progressing as they should be. And as I've already said, we have Miss Steele here, who's the head of secondary English, and will be working with us on the team this year for student voice and for parental engagement. So that is the secondary team for this academic year. And
an awesome team, I think. Absolutely. I think one of the great things about leadership this year has been the fact that we've been able to work together since you were appointed back in March. So much of what has gone on, we've been able to work collectively, and with Ashley, Mr. Robbins there as well.
I think that's one of the beauties of the fact that we are all GEMS. We've been with GEMS for a long time. Mr. Robbins has, I have, Mr. Morris has, Ms. Steele has. So actually being able to understand the way that the organisation works and education works in Dubai, we have a plethora of years behind us, and in these uncharted times, shall we say, we're kind of taking everything as in our stride and moving with that, and hopefully you will have confidence in the fact that we do understand education, not just in the English curriculum but also internationally as well. So for me, I'm just going to run through with you, which is something that I went through yesterday with all of the teachers. All of our teachers are back now. We have a new starters as well that Mr. Morris will talk about in a little while. Everyone was so excited yesterday to be back, and this is one of the things that as a teacher you've got used to since March, kind of being in your own bubble at home and teaching and learning online, but actually hearing people buzzing in the corridors and talking about teaching and learning and what they're going to do this year. That's why we came into education. To have everybody back in the academy yesterday all together was just fantastic. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the vision for secondary moving forward, and then we will move on to sort of the blended learning and how it's going to work in the situation that we're in now. So for me, there's 4 tiers to a flourishing school. And this is something that I fundamentally believe in. We need to have safe and happy students, is the first one. Academic goals are to be achieved, that's the second one. We need to think about what's been gained in addition to the grades. And fourth, students have a sense of locality, a sense of belonging. These are the 4 areas that when I was thinking about and looking at the KHDA reports, the BSO reports, looking and talking to teachers, looking at grades, analysing grades since I've been in the school, I've actually thought about how we're going to move this forward this year. So these are the 4 things, 4 principles for me as a leader of the secondary school that I have in mind for this year. And this is what has led on to looking at the vision for our secondary school. So the first one is academic standards achieved at all levels, outstanding progress and attainment in all key stages. We know that our results this year, our GCSE and A-level results, a testament to the amount of rigour that goes into those academic standards. And we now need to look at the fact that we are bringing online new pathways post-16 for the BTEC, and making sure that your children actually can achieve those academic standards at all levels. Outstanding progress and attainment at all key stages is one of the main focuses for the secondary school this year. Secondly, further increased consistency of outstanding teaching and learning and assessment across the secondary school. We know that we have a very, very strong teaching and learning that happens here, and also the assessment that we've put in place. But this is something that we're going to look at and we're going to refine as a secondary school this year. Thirdly, to continue to embed the high performance learning programme. We started this last year. The school that I've come from, we actually achieved that accreditation last year. So I'm in a really good position to work with Mr. Morris and with the primary team as well to make sure that we're looking that our young people can achieve beyond limits, breaking that glass ceiling, making sure we're not labelling them with this is as far as you can get in your education. And that's what Deborah Ayres' philosophy is all about. It fits beautifully with the academy. It fits beautifully with the WEC learner profile, thinking about how those children can achieve outside of what their grade boundaries say they should. Intervention strategy links into this for our SEND students, our special educational needs students, and our more able students as well. I don't like the term gifted and talented, because I believe that, again, that kind of pigeonholes students in the fact that they are gifted or talented in one area. It's very much links in with the high performance learning programme and about how all students will be afforded the opportunity. We have lots of opportunities for programmes that will be coming online, hopefully when the ECA provision can begin, and actually we're looking at ways that we can push that out to you as well virtually, with programmes that in the past maybe would have only been given to students who were deemed gifted and talented. I don't believe in that. I believe that the provision should be there for all, and every child should have the opportunity, but more information will come this year as we move forward. The development of happiness and wellbeing strategies to ensure that our students can able to realise their potential. I'll be working really closely with Mr. Robbins and with the pastoral team to look at how we can actually make happiness a main focus. You may have seen my welcome letter, you may have seen what I've said before when I met you all, met parents before in the, what's it called, the getting to know you?
Yeah, we're looking forward.
Looking forward,
yeah.
Sorry, the looking forward. Happiness for me is fundamentally part of how students make progress. There's lots of research that is pinned behind this. My dissertation when I did my master's was very much focused on happiness and wellbeing strategies and how that linked into academic attainment And that's something that I'm very, very keen to work with. I know Mr. Robbins will talk more about that later, to make sure that our children are happy in school. Especially in the situation that we've been in. I know a lot of you are anxious, and I know some of the students are anxious to return to the academy, and that's something that we need to make sure that we don't brush under the carpet. It's something that we actually allow those students to find their voice, and we can help them with that. And finally, the improvements to parental engagement and communication. Now, I alluded at the beginning to the Twitter. I know it's not all about Twitter, but parental engagement and communication is key. It's key to making sure that you're happy as parents, that your students are happy, and obviously there's lots of transparency and two-way conversations going on between the academy and you. So Ms. Steele is going to be working very closely on developing those strategies, and we really do welcome and relish the opportunity to talk to you about how you feel improvements could be made to the parental engagement in secondary. We know in primary there's a lot of hands-on with young students, and we also know that our teenagers probably often don't really want mum and dad involved in things, but there are ways that we can actually involve you that isn't going to embarrass them. So we're going to talk to you more about that as well as we go through this first term. So that's my vision. Obviously for the secondary staff, it was a lot more padded with things that you, like the nuts and bolts of how we go about it in education. But for you, these are the 6 fundamental visionary ideas that we have here. And from talking with my team, they are very excited as well for us to get started on this. This school is in a fantastic position, and Mr. Morris will talk about that in a second. In secondary, our results are phenomenal, and I know the students didn't sit exams this year, but the rigour that went into the CAGs, the centre assessed grade, the teachers actually submitted. I've looked at the data that was put in, and it was watertight. The teachers know how to assess, and they know how to teach, and that's something that we need to galvanise now with a fantastic set of GCSE and A-level results, rivaling the best schools, other best schools here in Dubai. I do generally believe that this academy is going places rapidly. So I'm going to stop talking. Are there any questions in the box then?
No
Morris?
questions at the moment, but that is a good reminder for any of you that do have any questions. Of course, please write them in there. It's really important that you don't leave today's session wondering anything, particularly if you have any anxieties around blended learning, which we will be looking at as our last segment of today. Yeah, so there I am. I've obviously been now at WEC for 5 years, going into my 6th year. So very, very confident at how the school is run. It's been a seamless transition, as I said. Miss Thornley, Mr. Robbins, and of course Miss Steele as well have been here for since March, working really closely at how the transition in leadership is going to take place. And what I've been really impressed with is how receptive, even though Miss Thornley and Miss Robbins have come from 2 very different schools, so receptive to how things are done here, but also reflective on what things can we change in the long term, etc. Oh, there's somebody annotating my my lovely almost my name. So yeah, firstly, I just wanted to draw on what Mrs. Thornley was just saying about our results. We've had our first set of A-level results, which were absolutely phenomenal and outstanding. We're just going to swap around, just do a little jig, which were amazing. Some of the best A-level results in Dubai, and as was just said, we don't, the students didn't actually sit those exams, but the data was built on so much evidence, and that's the beauty of Go for Schools, is that we're simply able to pull on that evidence. 76% of our students getting B grades, 19% getting A-star grades. And I'm pleased to say, whilst we still have some work to update the website, every single one of our students has been offered university places around the world, which is something we're incredibly proud of in our first centre, our first cohort of students. So proud of that. And a number of them are still deciding what to do, whether to go to them, because of course, there are some anxieties around going to universities in the United States, for example, due to the numbers of COVID-19 cases, but we are very, very, very proud of our A-level results. Now, in terms of our GCSE results, we've had significant improvement again, and actually even 1% is significant improvement on a grade 9, an A-star A grade. You will see there the trends in attainment over time. Over the last 3 years, we continue to improve, which just demonstrates that also the quality of teaching and learning continues to improve. More than half of our GCSE students achieved 5 or more grade 7s and above, which is incredible. And I think what I would draw on is our value added. And I've always pressed this. We know there are schools in Dubai that are selective, that don't always allow every single student into their school. Some schools will only select the best students. We do Cat 4 testing, of course, but actually we don't discriminate against students. We find that, well, everybody is welcome. We just find the best way for everybody to attain and make significant progress. And this year, well, for 2 years in a row now, we've had the highest value added of any GEMS British school. This year we were +2. Students do on average 2 grades higher than what their Cat 4 indicators are targets for their end of year, their GCSE qualifications. So we're immensely proud of that. Okay, I can't actually see what this other updates. There we go. I keep moving the webcam images because it's just blocking half of the presentation slides. Now, you will of course have opportunity to meet a lot of our new teaching staff. We will of course be looking at how we can deliver parents' evenings remotely. We'll obviously still do our ACE conference. That'll be remotely like we did last time, and that's in October. So there will be plenty of opportunity for you to meet the new staff. However, we've just been through an incredibly rigorous process of induction. I actually take a responsibility for all the new staff, especially those coming from the UK who also need the support in adjusting to life in Dubai. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that I honestly believe we've got the strongest teaching body this year that we've ever had in the secondary school. I know the quality of teaching and learning in every single subject in this school because I've been here, I've been responsible for teaching and learning for the last 4 years. It was written all the way through the BSO report, the outstanding quality of teaching and learning in secondary. And what I would say is this year, in terms of the rigor and the effort and the follow-up of references and the safer recruitment policy, and everything has just been so tight that we are incredibly confident that the teachers we have starting are of a very, very high quality. So there's just some of the names. And of course, there are a lot more names this year, but we must remember that a lot of those additional teachers actually come from expansion of the secondary school, you know, introducing BTECs and other courses and qualifications. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Robbins, who has already had a very, very positive start here.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Ashley Robbins. So I am the assistant principal looking after student wellbeing and pastoral care for all our pupils. So later on in the presentation, I will talk you through how that is going to look in action. So strategies that we're putting in for our pupils who might feel anxious about going to school, and what wellbeing activities we're going to do to support them. As was discussed earlier on, so I was at GEMS SB for the previous 2 years. So here I was the senior leader of pastoral care and student wellbeing. So very similar role to what I am doing now. Obviously our demographic of people is very different, where it was about 96% minority in NSB. Previous to that, for the 10 years before that, I was at Deira International School, again in a range of pastoral roles, where similar demographic to the academy. We had about 90 nationalities in the secondary school. And from what I gather, a very similar ethos in the school of growth mindset and how each individual person can be pushed out of their comfort zone to reach, you know, different levels. I am very keen on the extra things that school can offer. So the ECAs, the learning experiences outside of the classroom, the shows, the DD building things for our older pupils in Key Stage 5 looking to get to university and might need extra qualifications through first aid or sports leadership courses and that kind of thing. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting you in person, and I'll explain a little bit later in the presentation how some pastoral wellbeing things are going to happen straight away from day one for our pupils. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robbins. I've just put on the slide here just the names and the form classes. The allocations should have gone out now. If they haven't, they will be sent out shortly. We were just waiting for other phases in the school to release that information. But very, very confident set of form tutors. As I said earlier, going through a very in-depth induction at the moment into our way of working pastorally. So there is an incredible amount of support, and you'll also notice a number of staff assigned to each year group to offer additional support around our form classes. So lots of strength there. Oh, how do I click forward? There we go. Okay, I think this is for you, Mr. Robbins.
So thank you. So yeah, so for the student wellbeing, so as part of our obviously induction, so when we welcome students back into school throughout next week and the staggered opening from Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, all pupils will be taking part in different wellbeing activities. So these are tailored to each key stage. So key stage 3, 4 and 5 will all have slightly different programs adapted to their kind of needs. So that will take place during the induction week. As a kind of extension to that, the normal form time will be on Thursday. We are setting up a kind of virtual worry box where pupils can anonymously email a question in through Teams, and that will come to me, and then I can start gathering on themes that might come across every year. So for example, if anonymous people in year 7 write into the worry box that they are concerned about coming back to school, the natural transition from primary school to secondary school, I can gather information if it's coming in from 1 year 7 pupil or 10 year 7 pupils or all year 7 pupils. So then I can start tailoring workshops in school through form teachers, through tutor time on a Thursday, or into curriculum lessons to help ease those concerns. So an anonymous worry box is quite a standard pastoral response to getting student voice and finding out where their concerns are. Obviously, our older pupils, they might start to have anxiety already around, they might have a dream university in mind in America, and they are unsure if they can travel there or reach that university because of current restrictions around traveling. So again, if we can collect that information, I can put in pathways and solutions and strategies for pupils. So that is something that will be done remotely. So it will not be any physical writing down and collecting. It will be done through Microsoft Teams. Throughout all the GEM schools, but the one thing that I'm very keen on for the academy is safeguarding is always number one priority for our students. So I really want our school to be the flagship bearer of what safeguarding and pastoral care looks like. As you've seen on the previous slide, the existing headers of key stage you will be very familiar with, and they have been in school for a number of years and know our pupils very, very well. I had a meeting with them today, the heads of key stage, and their passion for the role is second to none. And so I've been in Dubai since 2008 and working in pastoral care for a long time, and it's amazing to see how staff are so keen just to get pupils back involved in the classroom and thinking about the strategies of what we can do to make their experience as good as it can be, because it's obviously going to be a different experience to what they had previous to this, but we still want to make it as high. So my goals for the safeguarding of our school is not just to be, it is to be one of the flagship schools for GEMS. Now, as we've talked about the difference between previous school and what we're in now, we have spoke to sort of key members of staff about limiting activities on screen time for our students. We do not want a student to be on their laptop or device from 7:40 in the morning to 2:53 o'clock in the afternoon. We know for well-being that is not very good. So meeting the restrictions that we are in, we have asked for teachers in certain subjects lends itself better to this, to limit screen time for our students. So there will be natural breaks throughout the day. Obviously, for example, for that, and if you follow the school's social media on Facebook or Twitter, PE have already announced today, about half an hour ago, some guidelines around their safe practice in PE, and PE is back. So if you haven't seen that already, they've already started to advertise how we are going to improve their well-being. The one thing which I would just sort of request some help from, the key transitions in a school day are always that beginning and then the school, where we have so many pupils moving in between the buildings. Now, obviously in the morning there's a little bit of a natural stagger where parents might drop off at certain times. So, but at the after school, when we are also trying to exit our pupils and making sure we are socially distant and making sure everybody's safe, if we could just have as much support as possible. The teachers will be on duty, but if we can just be ready to pick up our pupils on time, and obviously remaining in the structure of the school system of how to pick up and exit, would really benefit us also. So it's a nice exit to our school. Obviously, as we welcome students back in for next week, we want everyone to be nice and calm, reassured that we want to make sure pupils are safe, first of all, before we can catch up with curriculum demands and pace of learning, things like that. The priority for pupils coming back is to make sure that they are safe, they are happy. And as Gemma alluded to at the start, we all know that pupils will do a lot better if they are safe and happy in school. So the first induction week is effectively built around making sure they are happy. Thank you.
Right, there we go. I'm just talking away there, but muted. Yes, so we are moving on to blended learning. We can already see some of the questions that you have written, and we will address those. Actually, I think we should address the ones that we've got now currently there before we go, because there's not many. We've had questions about how the lunch and break will work. Mr. Robbins has replied after that, explaining that. Yeah, we are going through the blended learning process now to the Jasani family. Ishan has asked privately, wanted to know if a child takes on e-learning, how will the exam system work? It's a very good question. We are intending still to have quite thorough baselines, but we've also been discussing as a team how we ensure that students who are at home and working can still complete tests and assessments in a rigorous way. And we are looking at that, and we will communicate that. We still don't know whether the actual formal exams are going to take place. The KHDA have said that GL assessments from June must take place in September or October, but haven't yet given us guidance on how we do that for students that are at home. So we are still awaiting that. But please rest assured, in terms of exams and assessments, we will ensure that that is communicated. We've had a question about requesting remote learning. I think the pastoral team are just going through a process now of phoning parents just to confirm, and possibly to reassure parents as well. If for those that were a little bit tentative, Ashley.
Yeah. If I could just comment on that one, yes. So very good question there. So yes, the heads of Key Stage started calling all parents today about remote learning. So yeah, just to reassure everybody how it's going to look in action, and obviously what resources will happen. So some were called today, but they will all parents will be called by tomorrow if you have opted for blended learning as your preference.
Thank you so much. Someone just said about sound quality. I'm just coming a little bit closer to the microphone. We're about to start the presentation, so we can go through blended learning officially, and then we'll open up again for for more questions. We'll have a look into not receiving the class list for year 8. We'll discuss with the pastoral team and just make sure that has been communicated. From Asad Khan, we will be coming to Dubai in October. Yes, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure you've gone through the school process of letting us know about that. And then there's one from Miss Jawahar and then from Mohammed talking about GL tests. So all we know from the KHD in terms of GL assessments is that they need to happen in September or October. The deadline in essence will be by the end of October. However, we've still not received guidance from them about how we conduct those for students who are at home, and we are still awaiting that guidance. Now, the GL assessments are not going to be straight away when we come back. They are going to be in several weeks because, quite frankly, we need to spend some time adjusting and making sure that students are settled. So we will update you when we know more about GLs. Just one last question before we move into the thing. You can wear both. You can wear one mask or you can wear a shield. That is entirely up to you. We are wearing shields because
we want you to see our face.
Absolutely. And also we need our students to see our face, to see our facial expressions is very, very important. So if students want to wear just a shield, just a mask, that's fine. Or if they want to wear both, that's entirely up to them. Okay, let's move on to this section. Oh, that's my face.
I put all of us on.
All of us are on there. Fabulous. Okay, now a lot of what you're going to see here has been sent, but we just want to make sure that we can go through this and you know, go into more depth. So yes, families can opt for 100% remote learning, but cannot change to in-school provision until October half term. So if you are deciding now and you are finalizing that decision that your child is going to opt for remote learning, that's absolutely fine. That provision will be there, but it's not until October half term where if you change your mind, they can come back in. And that's just to completely, you know, well, try and minimize as much as possible the potential risk and contamination. If we have this idea that students can come in and go out and come in, then, you know, that's not right. And we have to ensure as much as possible that our bubble, our safe environment is maintained. However, if you do opt for in school, a couple of days in or, you know, weeks in and you're thinking, oh, you know, the numbers are increasing in Dubai, my child feels very apprehensive, then you can move to remote learning. It just doesn't work until that half term, so that we can ensure that an even deeper and the most thorough disinfection is happening during that half term when nobody's in the school. At the bottom left, you will see that in Key Stage 3, Year 7, 8 and 9 students will be based in one room, in one bubble, and the teachers will be moving. Now, of course, that is, some schools in Dubai already have that model. We like our students to move from room to different specialist rooms. But at the moment, to absolutely, you know, minimize the potential for risk, we want our students to be basically in their form classes with the teachers moving, and they will be in those fixed seats there to absolutely minimize that contact. They will be allowed to leave, they will be escorted, socially distanced, to enjoy PE lessons. Now, that is something we are going to review regularly because our anxiety, and I'm sure you feel the same, is that we still want school to be a pleasant experience for our Key Stage 3 students, okay? Being in one room for the whole day with opportunities, you know, in the day for break and lunch and whilst that they'll be eating in their forms, we want to make sure that they can still enjoy it and that there is difference to from being in school to being at home. So lessons will be very, you know, full of energy and lots of activities and learning, but equally we will be reviewing that regularly. If we feel that it is safe enough, and of course we'll consult you as well, that actually after a week they can go to the art facilities to do art, or they can go to the music rooms to do music, then we will review that. But we don't want to go all guns blazing and realize actually this is too much of a risk. because it's going to be much harder to take a step back.
The KHDA are also releasing information on a daily basis at the moment. So today we had guidelines shared to us about food technology and about actually how after 3 weeks, if we can, we'd look at being able to put some of those students back into the food labs. Now, that's obviously an evolving picture, and everything we do will be in consultation with you as parents to make sure that you're happy with what we've actually put in place. So like Matthew said, I was talking with the arts departments today, so I was with the head of DT, the head of drama, the head of art, and about what they're actually putting in place for Key Stage 3 in those classrooms. And there's some real innovative practice coming. They're going to try and be as practical as possible. For example, in art, each student will have their own kit that they will be given for their art project. They'll actually still be able to draw and use the paints. They're putting together those packs at the moment. So they're doing everything they can to make sure that even though the students are in their little bubble, they're still going to get the provision that we pride ourselves on, to be able to give that holistic, rounded education.
It's a very, very important. Yeah. And of course, we're performing arts subjects, so we are very mindful that we want students to be getting back into the active classroom as much as possible, but we're not going to risk the safety of our students. And then moving on to Key Stage 4 and 5, and of course we're following the KHDA guidance, but those students will be allowed to move to their specialist lessons. Now, we have completely cordoned off the ground floor corridor for Key Stage 3, and we've opened up a new section of the school on the second floor and opened up classrooms there. So students will be moving, there will be cleaning between each lesson. Students will be transitioning on a more staggered transition from one room to another if they need to move. There is a one-way system. We have socially distanced. We will be, we've got the stickers, and we'll actually have staff roaming to make sure that students are monitoring that. And that, of course, is another thing that we will be reviewing. But we followed the KHDA guidance there, and we really feel that for year 10 and 13, our GCSE and A-level exam classes, they really need that specialist, rooming, the facilities, and that's really, really important for them to be able to access the curriculum. Of course, those families who are opted for remote learning, that's absolutely fine, and we'll still be working closely to ensure that that's a really thorough provision. I just want to say, before I move to the next slide, we've been working on this for a while, and I know that this booklet was sent last week and we're doing this session now, but we've been very strategic, but also we've needed to be quite reactive at times because, as Mrs. Thornley alluded to earlier, new information is coming out all the time, and we haven't wanted to give some information and then retract it and then give new information. We really wanted to reflect on it, sit tight, and make sure that what we've got is watertight. Okay. So yeah, so in terms of Key Stage 3, just to confirm, fixed rooming, teachers will be moving. The teachers will be, because of the fact that we have what we call blended learning, we'll have students in front of us, but students next to us as well, at home, online. Students will be conducting their lessons through Teams, but as Mr. Robbins spoke about earlier, we are still going to be incorporating as much written work as possible, as much work away from devices to make sure that they're not being bombarded. Of course, what that does mean is making sure that laptops or iPads, etc., are fully charged on the way to school. And also, we will be talking to students, but students must, but please support this at home, the fact that we must ensure that they're not, relying on their devices too much. Even at break times and lunch times, they can bring their own book instead of reading an ebook, just to save battery.
We've also invested in the academy. Every single classroom has had or is having at the moment a webcam fitted and equipment, which is actually proper presenting equipment. So all the teachers will have a loop around their neck and an earpiece as well. So when they're moving around and there's students at home on remote learning, they will be able to see them on their screen or on the laptop screen. and they'll be able to talk to them and they'll be able to hear them as well. And the equipment that we've invested in is, as I say, it's the professional presentation equipment. So we actually can make sure that what the provision their students are getting at home is top notch.
Absolutely. What I would say is that, you know, the students that have opted for remote learning, it will look slightly different to how remote learning was back between March and July. And the reason for that is, of course, during remote learning, that teacher was also just at their computer doing remote learning. So, you know, there is a challenge, of course, with being able to manage and teach the class in front of you whilst maintaining that. So we are absolutely committed to ensure high quality for both sections. I would just say what we're anticipating is maybe a slower response rate from teachers to any questions that students might ask from teams when they're at home. And the reason is that they can't constantly be looking in two different places at once. So they will have routine parts of a lesson where they are looking at that dialogue on Teams to make sure that nobody is neglected. There are not going to be any sets in any subjects in year 7 to 9. In English and maths, for example, we usually have set 1, set 2, set 3. Obviously, because of the bubble, that's not going to work. So our teachers will be working really hard to ensure that all students are working at, you know, their age expected, you know, benchmarks and making significant progress. They're really excited about that and that opportunity. Lots of schools actually do that in year 7 to 9 anyway, and don't set. So we're not
excited to see that.
Absolutely, definitely. Social distancing and PPE at all times. There's no exceptions to that rule. And just to add finally for Key Stage 3, but actually this is for all, that students will not be, well, they will be having books and things like that, but there's not going to be any interaction with teachers with those books. So usually we would, you know, a student would be writing in their books, the teacher would take the book home or do it in school and mark it, hand it back. We can't do that for the potential risk of contaminating that book and just minimizing that. So assessed work will still take place through Teams, through the assignments, but students can still have books that they work on, which they take pictures and they upload it onto Teams, etc. Moving on to Key Stage 4. Key Stage 4 and 5 are going to be based, as I said, on the first floor and the second floor away from Key Stage 3. As I said earlier, they will be moving around the school. We've opened up our fire exit staircases, so we're really anticipating very little movement, you know, in the corridors between lessons. Fixed seating plans, rooms, desks will be cleansed between and before lessons and students move, and of course social distancing maintained and monitored by staff. It's just really, really important we go, you know, full of energy in this, you know, in this provision to make sure that our students in year 10 to 13 are having a high quality education. And then similarly in year 5, the same rules apply as in with Key Stage 4. But of course, sixth form students also get some study time. They get some free time. Well, we don't like to call it free time, but it's time to ensure flipped learning and study work, etc. And they will have access to the sixth form centre as well as other study areas to ensure that they can socially distance. Yeah, so some other considerations, I've already said this, but device fully charged every day, and we really need students to come with headphones. It was there in the guide. That's really, really important. PPE, students are bringing home food, and we would really recommend that. But of course, I think some information has gone out from Slices, but you can order sort of packed lunches from Slices if that's necessary. Water dispensers are not available for students around the school due to the potential risk. So please ensure that students come fully prepared with a big bottle of water that will last them the day. Something we never talked about earlier in terms of the Academy Learning Hub, sorry, I missed that. In Key Stage 3 particularly, where class sizes are slightly bigger than 17, and actually 17 is the limit of what we can get in a classroom and ensure that 1.52 meter social distancing can take place between desks. we will be having on a rota, so it's not going to affect students all the time, an academy learning hub where the excess students, in essence, will study in a different space, which will be supervised and monitored by a member of staff, and they will check into that lesson via Teams like the person online. And then next lesson, they'll be in the classroom, so they're not missing out. We are doing our best to find ways to be innovative. We're looking at ways in which we can still do some, ECAs and interventions to ensure that, that extended learning still happening. We'll update you about that. We are really firm on how we run baseline assessments and how we get that accurate starting point of assessed data, so we know exactly where students are. And just rest assured that we're really confident that that will, that's the end of the presentation there, that will all be smooth. Now, that is us in terms of the report and everything we've sort of discussed. I am just going to load up the chat. I know Mr. Robbins and Mrs. Thornley is there. Let's just have a look. Have all the questions been answered?
Yeah, they have actually. There's just one here for you.
Okay. Oh, there's a personal question for me.
Yeah.
Right. Where are we?
It's on yours laptop. We've swapped.
Oh, it's a private one. Okay. Hi, Mr. Morris. Wonderful to see you again. Thank you very much. It's lovely to hear from you, Amira. Always good. I'm looking at the question. I'm looking there. A few parents are asking about scientific. No, I actually don't know the answer. I've never heard of there being any specific scientific calculators. I'm happy to put the email address of the maths, the head of maths, so you could contact and ask. But to be honest, I don't think there is any specific scientific calculator. If it says scientific calculator, that'll be absolutely fine. But we also do have spare ones in school for any students that might have missed that.
In regard to the fire drill that you're asking about, we're actually waiting for final advice from GEMS Education, from the Health and Safety, and from KHDA. However, we have sorted out here how we would evacuate the students we've actually opened up some of the doors that we haven't been using, of how we get the students out of the academy, and they will be lined up, socially distanced. We're going to be marking out where they would stand out on the AstroTurf. So that is in hand, but we are just waiting for KHDA and for GEMS Education just to finalise the protocols for health and safety surrounding the fire alarm. And that's a really good question. As soon as we know that, we will let you know. And I know all the GEMS schools are working on that at the moment.
Right. Did someone answer this question about Arabic A?
Yes.
All right. Okay, that's been answered. Okay. Sorry. Bear with us. We're just going through these. Secondary students that are starting on Tuesday due to house, will they have online work on Monday? Yes. We've got that whole. What's it called again?
The innovation.
Yes.
Mr. Robbins, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, certainly. So yeah, I did answer just back in the
Thank you.
there. So yes, if you are due to come in on the Tuesday because of your house allocation, Monday there will be a day of remote learning for all those two houses. It's part of our Future Learners curriculum here at the Academy. So there'll be an email be sent out tomorrow with all the details on that. It is basically a live meeting at 8 o'clock. Where our assistant head teacher will go through what the Future Learners curriculum looks like, how it benefits in different year groups, and how the curriculum is slightly different as we go through the school. And then we'll start the first house challenge. So we are going to try and improve our house allocations and rewards throughout the schooling year. So this is going to be a first house challenge. So each key stage has a different theme to follow. I won't spoil it too much because I would like the pupils to experience it. But parents can join in at 8 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday morning. Please, I encourage you to be part of that live session because it will be explained, the Future Learners curriculum, which is quite an innovation to our school. But everyone's invited to that. It's not just for pupils. So
it's
please
really
attend
cool
if you can.
as well. Really cool what they've put together. So Yeah, I'm a little bit upset that I'll be in induction.
Yeah. And just on the topic of induction, you know, when we'd announced the fact that there would be this sort of extra staggered start, there were, of course, a couple of concerned parents and comments why, you know, they just need to get back in. But for us, it was really important. This is new. This is new for us. You know, we worked so hard. We just need to make sure, absolutely, that everything is right, everything is in place. And the only way to do that safely is by having reduced numbers on different days so that we can establish what works. And if there is anything, we don't think it is, we think it's watertight, but if there is anything that needs tweaking, we've got less students in the school so that we can manage it. And I'm really, really confident about that decision.
Definitely. Any more questions?
Thank you very much, Amira and Jawahar, for the positive feedback there. Yeah, we really do feel that, you know, we're really excited.
Yeah, we are.
We cannot wait to see the kids.
It's been a long few months, and I am so excited to meet your children. I mean, I'm obviously excited to meet you as well when the time comes, but I am so excited to meet your children and be, you know, watch them flourish and grow. As I go back to what I said at the very beginning with that, the signs of a flourishing school, and fundamentally it revolves around their happiness and their well-being in order for them to be able to get those grades and that attainment as well. So yeah, we're super excited to get started, and I hope that you will put your trust in us to do the very best by your children starting from Sunday.
There's another good question there from Jawahar. I mean, what I will say about that is there are going to be more staff outside than there have ever been before. You know, in terms of security, teaching assistants, teaching staff, leaders, we're all outside. You know, we have to be, to make sure this is going to work. I think I'm actually more anxious about the parking side of things and the traffic, which is crazy. You know, we're educators, but I am, because it's the one thing we can't control. And just something I will say, I'm digressing slightly, but information will be sent by the school, but we are quite concerned about the U-turn on the main stretch of the road by Al Marabea Street, because that is completely out of the school's remit, and we've been working with the RTA to make sure that was achieved before the before the beginning of the new academic year. Previously, obviously, you went up Al Marabea Street, there was a roundabout, and you'd access the school that way. Now there's several lanes of traffic to cross, and there's one U-turn. So we're desperate for the RTA to fix that road so that actually you can go left and come into the school from the other side, but that hasn't yet been done. So what we're going to be advising parents to do, if you're coming from Sakim direction, and by that, I don't know, northwest, I don't know which way, but from the sort of Arabian Ranches direction, Motor City direction, that sort of direction, then you can actually cut through Dubai Hills and actually come that way. So it's minimizing the amount of people coming up Al Marabea Street. Thank you, Jawahar. If you've got any contacts, please let me know, because we've been
trying.
Yes, I know. And it seems frustrating because when you turn left, it's just a big board. It seems that the road is actually good to go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've actually done some of that. We've contacted EMA in Dubai Hills as well to chase it up. So we are a little bit apprehensive about that. All we can really advise is for those that can come through Dubai Hills, or, you know, set out that little bit earlier, particularly in those first few days. But yeah, we'll be communicating that as a school. Any more questions before we sign off? Thank you for your positive words. We are really looking forward to seeing you and being with you. Yes, we will stay on for a few more minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Oh, maybe. Sorry, Miss Jawahar. What? Oh, when will classes be sent?
That's meant. I think that was meant to go out today, but I think they were just finalising a couple of the FS classes because we've had more students join us for FS, so they just needed to get the last teacher in place, which they've done today. So I think that it will be by tomorrow morning. I will double check that first thing for you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've been ready actually with our classes for quite some time, but every area of the school actually needs to be ready before they can be released. So, you know, we apologize for the delay there, but yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your feedback. Division. So there's a question there from Doreen. Could you just clarify what you mean by division? But class lists will be released the latest tomorrow. They should have gone out today actually, but will be released tomorrow. But in terms of division, if you could just clarify what you meant. Thank you, Amira. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Fatima. We really appreciate it. I feel like a TV host. I don't know what it is.
You look like one of your masks. Very fetching.
I'm actually going to stop the recording at this point.